We're starting a new series today on, the title is My Favourite Bible Passage. I'm going to start off by talking about the whole thing, which is not an unambitious thing to do. Next week we have Mark Waters, the week after Mark Headley, and at the end of the month we have Helen, who's going to join us. Lead us, because she always joins us in spirit today. So before I begin, a disclaimer. I have no references today, no quotes from biblical scholars. All I have today are my own thoughts. Feel free to treat what I have to say accordingly. So here we have it, the Bible, the good book. But of course it isn't just one book. There's a whole library packed in here. There are letters and laws, rules and regulations, prophecy and poetry, some of it erotic, trust and terror, honour and hallucination, and the stories, good and evil, loyalty and betrayal, romance and adventure. It's all in there. My early experience of the Bible was, as I suspect it was for many of you, through a book of Bible stories for children. And in my case, it was this. It's called Once Upon a World. It's by Robert Duncan. I lent it out to somebody when I was about 13 and never got it back. So in order to have my visual aid today, I had to go to eBay to buy it. But it's been a revelation looking through it again. Reading through it, even after a gap of 30 plus years, it feels so familiar. The illustrations, even some of the lines of text, are all still here in my memory, and I hadn't even realised that this was where some of them had come from. And it struck me that this is one of my formative books, along with the Chronicles of Narnia and The Hobbit. This was kind of the third leg of my stool, I think, and I hadn't quite given it the credit it deserved. But how do we access it as adults? This really isn't the sort of book you can start reading at the beginning and read through to the end. At the same time, I'm deeply of the opinion that you can't treat it in a piecemeal fashion, which of course we do. We read a section, we read bits of it, we break it up. But that means we end up reading the nice bits and ignore the rest. Because as we know, the Bible can be used to support arguments for genocide, slavery and wife battery just as much as arguments for peace, equality and love. And this using the Bible to support arguments is another of the problems I have with the way Christians sometimes make use of it. The Bible isn't true because the Bible says it's true. It's true because we learn something new from it each time we come to it. Telling me that I have to believe such and such a thing because it says so in the Bible is a non-argument for me, because there's a very good chance that there's a section somewhere else in it that provides a complete contradiction. So how do I approach it? Well, of course, I read it in passages like everybody else does. From Genesis 1:1 to Revelation 22:21, you have to break it up into bits. You can't manage the whole thing. But I do believe in looking at the context. Who wrote this particular section and when? Who were they writing it for? And why were they writing it? What was the point they were trying to make? And then I ask myself, what can I learn from this? What can I learn about myself, about my relationship with others, and most of all, about my relationship with God? I don't approach any of it as history, at least not in the sense we understand that word today. A series of well-researched and documented events that happened in a particular order. And it certainly isn't science. Science establishes facts through observation and repeatable experiment. There are few, if any, facts of that type in the Bible, and none of them have anything to do with creation. It is, I believe, a record of events, some historic, some mythical, some simply story, based on the understanding, knowledge and experience of those who wrote it. And because of this, on the whole, I take the Bible to be truthful, not factful. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at a particular event, say this one. The facts about this event are that it's taking place on Sunday the 2nd of July at 10:20 almost, with rows at the front and 20-something, nearly 30 people listening. These are facts. Nobody can dispute them. But what's the truth of this event? Well, right away we have two truths. My truth is different to yours because I know what I'm going to say. I've thought about it, considered it, honestly, and written it down. You, however, are hearing it for the first time. But are you all experiencing what you're hearing in the same way? Some of you have heard me speak about the Bible in the past, so you may be aligning what you've heard me say before with what I'm saying now. Some of you may be wondering if I would consider the life of Jesus as a fact. Some of you may be trying to remember whether or not you left the oven on. So there are as many truths about this event as there are people in the room. All of you could give an accurate witness statement of this event, and there would be a lot of overlap between them. But there would also be some discrepancies, perhaps outright contradictions, because you will all experience the details differently. Facts may be true, but truth is more than mere facts. As I said earlier, I'm not sure there are any facts in the Bible, and if there are, they're few and far between. But there are certainly a lot of truths, as I hope my reading today will demonstrate. I do have a reading. I have a deep and abiding love for the Bible, although I hardly ever read it. I hardly ever read it because I just don't know where to start, and I don't want to fall into the trap of only reading the nice bits. What I love most about it, what I come back to over and over again, are the people. So many flawed individuals, so many mistakes and misunderstandings, so many ordinary human beings. Yet one truth we find in the Bible, repeated over and over again, is that God works through those ordinary human beings to make extraordinary things happen. So now finally to my reading, which is Numbers 6, 24 to 26. And I have three voices. So, Chris, please.
The Lord bless you and keep you.
The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you peace.
This reading is a really personal one. It's the reading Colin and I had for our wedding, which took place here almost 25 years ago. It's also what I think of as a summary reading, because for me it encapsulates the message, my version of the message of the whole Bible. It reflects another truth, that God's love is pre-existing, unconditional and ongoing. I find such assurance in these words. God doesn't hold back his blessings, his grace, his peace until we are perfect, until we do and say, much less believe, the right things. He offers them to us now, in the midst of the mess and pain and imperfection of everyday life. In fact, he offers them to support us through the mess and the pain and the imperfection. Thinking back to my questions earlier about context, tradition says that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers and Deuteronomy, which are known as the Pentateuch. Whether he did or not, of course, is open to debate. However, whoever did write this down was recording something very important, the blessing that the high priest Aaron spoke over the children of Israel. The repetition of the words and the rhythm make the blessing easy to remember and therefore to pass on. It speaks of God's love offered through blessings, grace and peace. It isn't the only reading I would describe as a summary, the only passage that wraps up a whole message in a few words, but it is my favourite. So I think we have a little bit of time for questions. So if you want to, I'll read these out and then whichever one of them you remember, you can discuss in your group. How often do you read the Bible, and have you ever read all of it? What, if anything, do you think is the central message of the Bible? And do you have a favourite passage? And if so, what is it?